didn't get coachman to serve an extra penny per passenger. You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a fifth passenger on the omnibus that night, then we would have had another suspect. Well, I for one was told I have to pay 5 pence for the bus.
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on the board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4? Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir. I just told you that I did. A flat fare of 5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of, you know. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone. Dead and buried. I'd been happy if it had ever existed in the first place. Okay. You saw a blood-curdling sight as well.
Hold it!
Can you explain that to us a little bit? This blood-curdling sight. You mean the murder, I presume? Yeah. Can you tell us more detail about that, maybe? Yes, sir. A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken. Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed. I think that Beppo is about to die soon enough. All this coldness. I mean, it doesn't help that Baroque von Zieks is here. Good gracious, really? We have another witness for that, however. The banker has already testified to it. But Mr. Frost didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker get gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath, see? That's when I looked for the glass. That's when I saw that horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can only help screaming, even when I'm eating. I tell you, I saw McGilda stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Hold it!
So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilda, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him? That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before. This was... For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only the two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? And there's been much talk of a fifth passenger, but as yet, zero evidence. Then what are we wasting all this time for, eh? It's black and white. The man is guilty. Okay, so I feel like we're gonna need to pay more attention to fair play in this. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was.
Hold it!
Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Yeah, that is something that I definitely want to ask you. That you saw the moment when it happened? Yes. Yeah, that's right. He said that the victim was on the floor, and described the assailant holding a knife in an ice-pick grip. suppose. You suppose? You know, yeah. Put the cart before a horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect it was me, sir. Then when I turned around, yeah, I saw it through the skylight. Well, okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that you saw the moment when the victim got stabbed, but you saw what happened after that. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. You're saying that he was on the floor? That's right, yeah. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yeah. So, in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought that I did, but when I go over it again, no. I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I? Yeah, that's what I was thinking there, Beppo. Thank you for that. Hey, Mr. Fairplay, you're having quite a reaction here. Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? No, you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. You didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Huh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Some information that might be of importance to what he said before. In regards to what Ryonosuke noticed there. Yeah, I tell ya. Like, just like it was said in the first trial by Kazuma, he observes such things, like, I don't know, I don't remember how Kazuma put it, but he does see the heart of what is going on here, in the sense that he notices some suspicious stuff going on, even though Ryonosuke doesn't know himself at the moment, so he has to think about it a little bit more. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? Some days are like that. Nah, no chance. Well, it is a little hard to believe, sir. Unless it's in your time peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a bell that day. It was a grim scene. I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me, I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you to submit your testimony, with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that, alright. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man? You saw him stab You saw Miguel stab him. Everything he said before stands. The sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man. Blood-soaked hands. Blood-soaked? Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick. But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Ah, I wouldn't say... Well, okay, I feel like this was a technicality thing, but... not on both of them. And you saw that from the roof? Through the skylight? And again, if we're talking about technicalities over here, are you sure that it was on his hands? I mean, technically you're right, but I do have to question that a little bit. I guess we'll see. Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp on the inside the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw. This maker's latest statement. I feel sure there's something not quite right about it. When you feel something doesn't add up, Miss Naruto, that's when you should have a good look through the court record. Not long ago, this trial very nearly came to an end. Somehow, we managed to keep our chances alive here. I cannot waste this cross-examination. I have to use it to bring some new facts to light. Be not careful when you press these witnesses. The danger is that the jury will end up believing something unhelpful, as they did before. Maybe. But don't let the fear of that happening stop us from uncovering important new information. Yeah, you're so right. Pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of a reaction among these witnesses. Remember, if you happen to spot one of the witnesses reacting in a strange way, don't hesitate to pursue them as to the reason. Okay, so going back to what has been said here. He is talking about blood-soaked hands. But here we have like blood on gloves, on the right glove specifically. I mean, if this is what we're trying to do over here, we're gonna have to tell him that, well, technically the blood is not on both hands, but on just one hand, and it was on gloves, not on hands. Maybe the idea over here is that Fairplay didn't actually see the killer with gloves on them. Like, maybe he should have said that, he should have said those blood-soaked gloves after that. It's kind of a stretch, because, again, it doesn't feel like someone hiding something, but rather it's just a poor choice of words. But even if it's a poor choice of words, or maybe they're hiding something, we can get some reaction out of this, whether we are right or wrong about this, and we can get some extra information. Realistically speaking. Now, when it comes to Grade Ace Attorney, either like I present this and either I fail or we do not.
Objection.
Let's see. Blood-soaked hands. Hands? Well, I admit that soak might be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Right now. No, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the very night in question. Oh yeah, right. There certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there. But, as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. You're short, Mr. Fairplay. Your testimony is inconsistent. Yeah, but that can't be right. So you're the liar here, then. Okay, so I guess we were wrong. Again, I was thinking that maybe the way he said it, it looked like as if it was a metaphor that he had blood on his hands, as to say metaphorically. But okay, I'm glad that we were right about that. That's right. You were quite clear about it. You said it was both hands. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed. But is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You cannot justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands. It was only one. But the fact remains. The victim's blood wasn't accused.
Objection!
No. Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands. Which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Yeah, I guess Veronosco was right. About blood being on both hands, which sounds very specific and less like a metaphor and such, like I was hesitant before. So, okay. But yeah, it still stands, you know. Like, we were questioning before about Beppo seeing the death happen, like, at the time of the kill. Like, at that exact moment, we were questioning that. And now we're questioning the same thing for Fairplay. So, it can very well be possible they didn't actually see the moment that the death happened. And if they didn't see the moment that it happened, then it kind of makes you question of different possibilities. Why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Standing members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. Is that really the case?
Miss Naruto, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay may be lying, we could turn the tide in this trial completely.
Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. Well, one thing comes to mind when it comes to the whole thing right over here, and that is this, the debtor's ledger. Among the defendant's list of debtors is Bruce Fairplay, who would have been due to repay his loan immediately. It can very well be that Bruce Fairplay was not very fond of McGilded right over here. He had to pay his debt, so the reason why he would be lying about this is because he didn't like him. You know, so let's go with us having evidence. My lord. Yes, counsel. The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, you sure? Yep. Evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court. Make sure you don't put like too many teeth marks on your stick there, Mr. Fairplay.
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims, crippled by the accused's extortion. The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name. Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted and financially to the accused? No. Well, it's barely worthy of being called that. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Oh, well of it. Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What will become of your debt in that case? You'll become useless. You'll become nothing. Nada. You would just vanish like a magic spell. These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. they will be kaput.
Cease to exist?
Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case? He claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw. In a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant. Order! 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 Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Yes, my lord. Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes! You did not tell the truth in your testimony. Alright. Now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth in a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilder's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And yet only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. So you keep saying. Anything you want to add first?
I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. First.
Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens.
Seeing what?
The blood, sir. On the assailant's hands. I think... yeah. I'm almost sure that it was on both his hands, not just one.
What? It appears that we're going to need further testimony from all your witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yes.
Miss Naruto, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have slightly shifted at last.
Yes. Alright, I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. Alrighty then. Let's go at it again. Let's see what First has to say about this whole thing, about witnessing the moment happen and the blood on both hands, quote unquote. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired. If that even matters.
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both the attacker's hands with blood on them.
I didn't actually see anything myself. No. Not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains. There can't have been anyone else inside the carriage. Or you all would have seen. Well, there's something to be said about there. I mean, you guys sat, like, Mr. First and Mr. Fairplay sat on the back of the carriage. And it is true, from that point of view, they were able to see the victim and Mr. McGill did on the opposite end, like inside the carriage, in front of the carriage. But what about the inside of the carriage in the back? You First and Fairplay could not have seen that. So, that maybe that is gonna be of help to us. That idea that I'm having, we shall see. Oh, lo and behold! In truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's really not what testimony is about. Although, okay, like in the eyes of the normal people, stuff like that can happen, where tiny details like that, they wouldn't consider it important. Like, in the eyes of those who are less wiser about it. Like, what difference does it make to see the actual moment when it happened and like a second later after the moment happened? It won't really be that much of a difference to them. So, I mean, I can understand that kind of thing if they are innocent about this whole thing. If they are not innocent, then we're gonna have to question that, guys. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witness's accounts. Okay. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the fact of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. Alright, well, you know what? We did examine the omnibus before. Although, it makes me question if this is one of those situations in the game when we're gonna have to examine the omnibus again. And now we're gonna be finding stuff that previously we didn't find in the carriage. So, I wonder if I should examine it like right now? Or... well, let's see. Let me see about examining this a little bit. More specifically, I wanna see, like right over here. This is what I was talking about before. From what I understood, both of them sat like right over here, and they will be able to see like the front. You can certainly see inside the cage through this opening, that's for sure. You can certainly see inside the cage through this opening, that's for sure. Nah, still no new ideas right over here. Like, nothing about the lock, eh? Like, other than that, I don't know if, like, what else I should check around here. Like, is there anything new that Ryonosuke would be able to notice about this whole thing? Let's see. Like, I'm just gonna check, like, this thing, like, right over here. And then afterwards, we're gonna go back to the cross-examination. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Women's clothes are very impractical, aren't they? Hey. You're about to get, like, a Susato takedown. Or Susato squash, like, if you're not careful with your words. Okay, well, let's see. No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record. I am well aware of that, sir. But nevertheless, I know what I saw, and I stand by it. That man had blood on both his hands. He is defiant, even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken by what he saw. But why? Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused fingers. I suppose you might say I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
Hold it!
Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance, as well you know. What? For crying out loud, we all know that no one else could possibly have done it. It's just... trying to save us all some time. You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not?
Do I have to remind you of that, like 50 times? And you hope to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring that the defendant was found guilty? Well, that's not entirely what I was hoping. I just lost a little guinea, or 10, when I backed the wrong horse in the derby. That's all. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend, that's sure thing. A little guinea or 10. My bank. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work? I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both the attacker's hands with both of them.
Hold it!
Okay. Well, you are the one who initiated the cross-examination first, so let's talk about this a little bit. You definitely saw that too. Blood on both hands. Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of Mr. Gilded's gloves has any signs of blood on it.
That's right.
The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGill sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir.
Yeah. Like, I was thinking that was gonna be a possibility that you guys were gonna bring up.
He wasn't wearing these gloves. That's correct, sir. And I saw the blood on both his bare hands quite clearly.
Like, okay. If it's true what you're saying over here, I guess it kind of makes sense from the perspective of the killer, maybe? Like, they had to get away without being noticed outside that their hands were bloodied and such. So I guess what they were trying to do is, like, kill the victim, and he had blood on his hands. So what did he do to try and hide that? Use gloves. However, he still managed to get the blood on his right glove, and even with all that, you were discovered by the people on the carriage anyway, Gilded. If we're talking about Gilded being the killer and such. In which case, how did the... Ah, okay, I see. Like, if we are to go with this kind of idea, your hands are bloodied, so you kinda need to use your hands in order to put your gloves on your hands, so inevitably you would end up with some blood on your gloves as well, as you're trying to put your gloves to hide your hands. Would you be able to put your gloves like that? Hold on. You pick one glove, like that. Yeah, I guess it's possible. I guess it is possible. But okay, I'm on the defense right over here. I'm not on the prosecution side, so there's that. Let's continue and see about this. It's true that the dark colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGilded's gloved hands. No trace of blood? There wasn't blood on his hands? On his hands? Or wait, am I mistaken over here? He says no trace of blood on Mr. McGilded's gloved hands. You're talking about... Okay, I assume that he's talking about the hands without the gloves. That there was no blood
inside the gloves. So, which would mean that the idea about Gilded hiding his bloody hands with gloves wouldn't really be the case. This is puzzling indeed. This must be significant somehow. I'm sure of it. Okay. Something tells me that's gonna be important, but we shall see. I didn't actually see anything myself, no. Not until I heard that scream. You didn't see anything? Yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. Very sorry about what I said before, sir. Very sorry, yes. It was very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Wouldn't you agree, sir? I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir. I saw nothing at all. Mr. Beppo, you're driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? You were driving blindly? Oh, please. You didn't even see that? It was so cold that night, sir. You see, it was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Man. If it wasn't for Gilded, this trial would have been completely different with somebody else as the accused. Yeah, my head was fairly frozen solid. Sorry to say, sir. I can imagine. Even your eyelids were probably frozen. You couldn't even open your eyes. Even now, you cannot even open your eyes. Like, I saw you once with your eyes open. It would seem prudent to avoid trouble on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. Beppo! Hey, there you go. Thank you, Guildmaster, for managing to open Beppo's eyes there once again. They were frozen. Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside the carriage, or we all would have seen. And everything you saw the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus? Okay, I think like this is an important topic over here. Let's see. That's right. It was firstly cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over. Yes. I remember I was shivering. It was so bitter. It rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, you had like room for 2 more inside the carriage. I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh, it's because Mr. McGilded was inside? Yeah, that would actually be pretty awkward. I guess between looking in the eyes of your debtor and freezing yourself to death, like outside, you would choose the latter option. Oh, why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. Oh. It was locked from the inside. It was locked? That's right. And it's public bus service. For pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play. Yeah. I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below. I can assure you I wasn't just looking down. I was glaring, long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else at all in the cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. Downright rude, I would say, to lock people outside when there was still room inside the cabin in the freezing winter. I'm not sure about these 2 witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? I'm gonna say no. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight in the floor of the upper deck. Is that right? That's right. Yes. Okay, in that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. Yeah, exactly. Like the idea that I've been talking about before. You were able to see the inside of the carriage, like in front of you, but not inside the carriage, like right, like under you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we cannot say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the closed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh.
Very well. I will uphold the prosecution's demand.
What are you talking about? An evidence that shows us that they had, like, obscured vision? Or evidence that there was a fifth person in the first place? About the latter, that we're gonna have to think about. But I assume that if we're talking about the former, we're gonna have to show, like, on the omnibus specifically, how they managed to see things.
You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that this potential extra passenger could have been situated? It could have been like right over here.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of the travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other. Which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here. Oh. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting, obscured from view. Kinda like magic, you know? Like, what you see and what you don't see. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that the witnesses would have been completely unaware of it.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. Excuse me? Ambiguity? The fuck does ambiguity even mean?
I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In the British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Can you, Miss Naruto?
I honestly don't know.
Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck?
Well, to be quite honest, like, we have a very limited number of people around here. Like, we had First and Fairplay, like, outside. Beppo was riding this. Like, we know that Mason and Gilda were inside. And it was said that they were visible by them. Like, in the front seats. Like, we don't really have, like, other names.
to think it out. But I mean, we are talking about this mysterious fifth person, which it's nothing new in my case. Like, there have been cases, even right now, that I'm dealing with that has to do with the existence of an unknown 19th person on a specific island and such, and that has been a thing for quite a while now. And the same thing over here. Like, if we're talking about an extra person, we don't really know a name to begin with, so... I'm gonna say that I have no idea. I have literally no idea. But as a proud citizen of the Japanese Empire, you will look to the sky and walk on, making sure all signs of tears are gone. Gone. This isn't just a case of going on, Miss Sato. No. Alright then. I'll go. I'll go on. Okay. The defense would like to put forward on it. Okay. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no motion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learned. Let us not delay, Consul. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat. This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was secured from view was... Okay, in which case... I'm definitely gonna have to think about this a little bit. Like, again, I'm thinking about that idea that I had before about the path, about the skylight, and how maybe it can be open, and those who are outside, they can enter through, but that would mean that it would be either one or the other. I don't think that I will be able to tell the difference. Like, I'm definitely gonna have to think about this. Let me see. Like, the only thing that I can think of is that, like, either Mason or McGilded, they were not really seated on the front. Like, one of them could have been on the back side. But, you know, I guess that would mean that we're eliminating the possibility of a fifth person. So, Unless there is the possibility of maybe switching places. Like, maybe these people are thinking that there was a fifth person, and they are saying that McGilded and Mason sat next to each other, while they are thinking that the fifth person was, like, inside the cabin, like in the obscure view. But maybe what they actually saw, the person with both blood on their hands, was the culprit, the unknown culprit, that was the actual person that sat next to Mason, while McGilded was the one that sat on the obscured view seats and such. That would be a possibility right over here. Because other than that, I have no other idea about this. So, let's see. The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see. Has to have been Magnet McGilded. McGilded? What are you talking about, Consul? That's the name of the defendant.